Welcome to The Real and the Woo. I'm your host, Lauri Stern. Join me as I invite experts and friends to discuss a range of topics, from the factual and practical to the mystical and magical. Consider this your virtual happy hour filled with lively, authentic, and meaningful conversations meant to inform, inspire, and ignite your curiosity. Whether you are very real or super woo, this podcast is just for you. Welcome to The Real and the Woo. I'm your host, Lauri Stern, and today I'm going to finally begin my chakra series. I've been talking about it a little bit, probably a lot. I've been on other people's podcasts talking about it, and I really have been chomping at the bit to dedicate some time to bring you my version of working through the chakras with you in, like my friends like to say, the Lauri way. So you're going to get straight learning, but you're also going to get real life connections. And today is one of those days. So I wanted to invite you to take a seat, to grab a pen if you want to make notes, or just listen to this again anytime you want to. Those of you who are not in the woo-woo space with me, I like to remind you that if you're listening to this podcast, you have chakras, okay? And you don't have to know really what they are, but as you know by now, I call them your internal instructions. And so part of the brand, the workshops I offer are called We Do Come With Instructions, because in fact we do. So today we're going to dive into our first wheel, our foundation, the first instruction, if you want to look at it that way, called the Muladhara or root chakra. So those of you who are fans of yoga, taken yoga, know anything about yoga, you've probably heard a teacher like me say in class, engage your Muladhara, which is an energy lock at the pelvic floor, at our base. And so Muladhara chakra connects with Muladhara, right? So everything's connected. And if you're listening to this podcast, you probably already know that too. Oh, I love my listeners and how smart you guys are. So today, like I said, I'm going to be offering something just a little bit of a different kind of flavor instead of just the straight dope on the chakras. I was inspired yesterday to create a Substack that I'll link in the show notes that connects the story of the cat and the hat and this sweet book I used to read my kids called A Mother for Choco. And I'll link those in the show notes as well. And so I really want you to understand the elements of the root chakra through these two stories that you probably already know, or if you don't, you're going to learn a little bit about them now. And so by the end of this episode, I hope that you'll understand why your nervous system acts the way it does when structure disappears, or why you keep searching for belonging in all the wrong places. Looking for love in all the wrong places, although that'll come when we talk about the heart chakra. But anyway, why do you go where you feel insecure? And why do you feel insecure when you're there? So I want to set up these two stories. So just as a reminder, Dr. Seuss, Cat in the Hat, yummy, yummy story from 1957. Two kids are left at home alone without their mother, and the house is quiet. It's like they're bored. It's a rainy day. And then this 6-foot cat with a red and white striped hat shows up and proceeds to turn their entire house upside down in chaos, literally. And then he brings his friends, thing one and thing two. They fly kites inside, and the goldfish, the grumpy goldfish, he's the only voice of reason. And he protests from his bowl. But, the chaos multiplies. The children watch as their orderly home becomes disorderly. It's a disaster zone. The entire time they're asking themselves what's going to happen when mother gets home. Even though they're having fun, you can kind of tell in the illustrations and in the movie, they're worried, you can tell. So the story is really about what happens when structure disappears and when the person who holds place for us in terms of safety and security, mother, father, sister, babysitter, trusted adult, or people in your life, when they're removed, we can wig out a little bit. It makes us feel fearful or uncertain, especially when we're younger or even as adults, right? There's a lot of chaos going on around us. Our sense of security and safety and stability seems to be rocked on the daily. And so hopefully this podcast will give you some tips and tricks on how to shore up your sense of solid foundation, even when the world around you is going a little bit chaotic and crazy. We could say this idea of structure being removed is pretty universal. And I just gave you an example about that, whether it's political structures changing, money structures changing. Today is January 26th, and Neptune has moved into Aries for the first time in 165 years. And I dabble in astrology. I'm not an expert at all, but I really am a fan of those who are. And everyone's been saying the same thing. They couldn't wait for this day to come because 165 years ago, when this transit was in the exact place, Civil War broke out. Structures changed. Slavery ended. Major, major, major things happened. My hope and the hope for people who are in the space with me, maybe a little more on the woo-woo spiritual side, we really see this as an opportunity to, for sure, disturb the structure, but in a way that brings about peace and oneness and understanding, even if that disturbance creates chaos, discord, and fear initially. The goal, I believe, where we're going to is a way more beautiful version than what we're living in right now. So that aside, that's my hope, that's my dream, and that's what I work towards every day. The vibration I hold is for that, and it's as simple as that. Just choosing to believe in better. Doesn't mean we're spiritually bypassing the negative, the scary, the awful that we see with our own eyes and we feel within our own bodies. It means that the shift in your mindset also stabilizes your base. Okay, so the other story I wanted to highlight in this show today is this book by Kiko Kaza, written in 1992, called A Mother for Choco. And I'm the kind of mom, when I read stories to my kids, I do voices. No apologies, I'm probably going to do the Choco voices that I did because it brings me so much joy. And I have a segment in the show called Joy on the Fives, so there it is right now, just getting it in early without any musical interlude for you. Doing voices when I read stories to my kids, and hopefully someday my grandkids, is just, it's just amazing. I highly encourage you to do that. So this story is, it's a quieter, more tender story than the Cat in the Hat, which is like really in your face. Choco's this little yellow bird, and he just desperately wants a mother. We don't really know in the story why he's motherless, but he goes searching, asking different animals, are you my mother? And there's other books like that too, but this is one of my favorites. So, he encounters the animals and they just each reject him. And it reinforces the same message, to him at least, that he just doesn't fit in anywhere. He's not the same shape or size or color of any being he's encountered so far, until he meets Mrs. Bear. And Mrs. Bear, of course, doesn't look anything like Choco either, but she does something revolutionary. She recognizes the family isn't about matching. That family isn't about matching. It's about just showing up. And I talked about that in my Mindfulness Monday episode last week, the idea of just showing up. So this is like that. She takes Choco home along with her other mismatched children. She has an alligator, a piglet, and a hippo, and creates a family built not on sameness, but on unconditional acceptance. So Choco's this yellow bird with all these different colors, and now he's sitting around a table having chocolate cake with all these other animals that don't look like each other either. And so the idea is these two stories, although different, one's chaotic, one's tender, they're going to help us understand, I hope, the two primary ways the root chakra gets out of balance. One is about what happens when structure disappears, and the other is about what happens when belonging feels uncertain or conditional. And either way, they're both about home base, both about the foundation and the ways in which we feel safe or unsafe, secure or insecure. It's all about that sense of survival and survival attributes: food, money, home, community, feeling safe in those ways, and certain. So predictability comes in here as well. Doesn't mean rigidity. That's a balance in the other way in this area, but just enough flexibility within your rigidity, I guess you could say, that it's possible to feel secure even when there's a little instability. So, okay, here's the root chakra. Let me just put this up here for you. I think you can see that. You can see it's red. Muladhara in Sanskrit translates to root support. It's your first energy center, the first wheel in the chakra system. And it sits at the base of your spine and your pelvic floor. It's the foundation for everything else in your energetic system. I'm just going to take this down now. And so, like I said, if you've taken any yoga classes, you've heard about your Mula Bandha, literally lifting yourself up from the floor, your pelvic floor. So think of it this way, and I've talked about this a lot. You know, the chakras run up and down the base of your spine like a roll of rainbow lifesavers, Roy G. Biv. So red being this first one, it is the foundation of you. It's a foundation of your metaphorical home. It also translates to the literal home that you have. So if your basement's leaky, if your foundation's unstable, there's cracks in it, whether physically in your home or within yourself, you can understand that pretty soon the doors won't close, the windows won't shut, paint will peel off the walls, right? Things are going to look a little funny and feel a little funky, and that's how it's going to work for you. So the whole house starts showing problems. And in that way, if your root chakra is out of balance, your whole body will eventually show imbalances, whether solely in the root chakra or, in my experience as an energetic wellness coach and yoga instructor and human doing this work for 10 plus years now, it shows up pretty much everywhere else too. So it all starts with the first chakra, all starts with that first wheel, our sense of self, our sense of mattering. Do we belong here? Every right to own the skin you're in, belong to the community in which you find yourself, or the opposite. You don't feel like you own the skin. You don't feel like yourself in your body for some reason, or yourself in your own home or your community. You're just feeling like there's something off. So again, this is about your physical and emotional safety, your belonging, your fundamental right to exist, basic survival needs, food, shelter, money, stability, your ability or inability to pay your bills, to earn money, save money, anything to do with money. If you've got food insecurity, that shows up here. And also overeating shows up here, right? So I tell this story in the book that I'm writing, but you know, people who grew up in the Depression, like my dad, for example, really warped sense of rootedness and stability. I mean, you're growing up in the Depression, you don't know when your next meal is going to come from. You don't know if you're going to be able to pay your bills. So as an adult, that manifested in some minor hoarding that he exhibited. We didn't find out till after he passed away, but he abused food and other substances. He wasn't a great money manager, spent it or had trouble saving it or making it, overspending, that kind of stuff. So I'm sure right now you can name 55 people you know that have one of these things, and maybe one of those things or a few of them within yourself. Reminder, you're not broken. You just have some imbalances. And it's also your sense of groundedness, but that can also create the imbalance of stubbornness, agoraphobia, inflexibility, right? You're too rigid, you're too structured. You really can't deviate from your schedule without wigging yourself out. The opposite is you're too flighty, you take too many risks, you're lacking that groundedness, right? So again, we can all name people, and we've all been all of those versions, I'm sure. And if you haven't, maybe give yourself an opportunity to check out all those different versions of yourself, because we are designed to experience this life and all it has to offer us, and we just need to be open to it with a lot of self-awareness and humor and not judgment, no judgment. So I showed you this, I'll show it again. It's got 4 lotus petals, and there's no accident, right? You think about the number 4, there's 4 sides to a wall, 4 sides to a building, 4 seasons, 4 directions, everything we know that has the number 4, That's about stability and structure. And I'm not going to dive into it, but there's all these other symbols that mean other things as well. And people who work with me, we get into that. But on this podcast, I just want to give you a flavor so you can make this your own as we're meant to. Inside the 4 petals that you saw is an inverted triangle inside of a square. And the color's red, the element is earth, so about groundedness. And when you think about what's red, our blood is red, fruits like tomatoes, strawberries, things that call our attention are red. Warning signs are red, right? So it's all about survival, like a warning sign. Like if you ignore a warning sign, first of all, you're really stupid. Second of all, that's about helping you survive. So heeding a warning, whether it's outside of your body or especially inside of your body, is really important to listen to, because when you ignore those warning signals, you are not giving yourself a chance to shore up your foundation, to secure yourself inside and outside. It's your choice to ignore it. I'm just suggesting you might want to pay attention. So it's all about the affirmation, I am. Full stop, I am. I exist. I am here. I matter. I have a right to be here. It's very primal. It's vital. It's all about life force. So it's not quiet, and it is. It's not subtle, and it is. It's just depending on how balanced you feel, right, in your base. How balanced and secure you feel literally wherever you are. And last Monday I said, wherever you go, there you are. And so here's a classic example. If wherever you go, you are already feeling insecure or inflexible or too flighty, then that version of you is going to show up wherever you go. I already said I think the element is earth. And, the earth doesn't ask much of us. It provides us gravity, whether we ask it to or not, and it allows us to stand firmly upon it. Thank you, earth. Thank you, Mother Gaia. So it just holds us. And that's what this root chakra does. It holds us. It provides this solid foundation from which we grow, from which we try out new things, challenge ourselves, fail and fly. So it's not just built on affirmation statements, although they help. It's solid, and it's just built for, it's like that Chevrolet commercial, solid as a rock. That's what this is about. So whoever shows up in your life or leaves, they alter the structure of your security, right? People who stay married, their kids hopefully grow up feeling wanted and secure. But if the relationship's really volatile, or their work life means somebody's always home or somebody's never home, or when they get home, they're really pissed off or exhausted, they can't really provide a secure pattern of parenting that they even might like. But so how we're raised from, and this chakra, all the chakras have ages, and this one goes from birth to 7. So if when you were little, from birth to 7, you moved around a lot, you were born into a military family, no fault of your parents or you just really don't necessarily feel home anywhere because you moved around a lot. If you were born into a family full of addicted people or abusive verbally or physically, unfortunately, that also shows up here in the root chakra. You don't have a sense of feeling safe and secure literally in your environment. So especially for children at this age, their bodies feel it, even if they don't have the words to articulate it. So misbehavior can happen, certainly, but also becoming rigid. And like when your kid is learning to potty train, and that's a very fearful thing, but some kids become literally anal retentive. They don't know where the poop or the pee is going to go, so they hold it. They might manifest into adults who are anal retentive in other ways. Obviously, they've learned to eliminate, hopefully, but physically, this chakra is where our lower body is, right? It's from the tailbone down, so it governs our legs, our limbs, our knees, thighs, glutes, and our internal organs of elimination and some of the low back stuff. So knee pain, ankle pain, hip joint pain, although hips also speak in the sacral chakra. I'll get to next time. I'll say it again. I always say it. If you're having a physical problem or a mental problem, go see a professional. And in addition, you could have an imbalance in your root chakra if you've got unexplained knee pains or unexplained imbalances or unexplained nervousness around new places. So go see a doctor, go see a professional. But I'm going to give you some exercises at the end of this podcast or towards the end that might help you feel more secure in the body you're in. Okay, let's get back to the cat in the hat. And I am reading notes. I don't usually do that, but I really wanted to get to everything that I want to. So just picture it. I mean, can't you picture the cat in the hat? It just comes right to mind. I wonder if Dr. Seuss is a yogi. There's so many books he's written. Through the lens I use now, I can say this guy was, maybe he was like an alien dropped here. I mean, he wrote the Lorax. He wrote like Scrambled Eggs Super Deep Booper. And no one questioned, as far as I know, if he was on drugs, but man, the imagination. Oh, the places you'll go. I mean, so many. I love Dr. Seuss. He was literally forward thinking. But we know how it goes. These kids are home. It's a wet day. They're bored, blah, blah. Cat in the Hat comes and creates chaos. And it's fun for a little while, but then it's not so fun because the house gets destroyed. There's worry. You can even see it in the illustrations or watch it in the movie. Like I said earlier, the kids' faces are worried, not just because of the grumpy goldfish, but they know this is wrong. Kids misbehave when there's a babysitter or there's a substitute teacher in school. I was one of those kids. And as a yoga instructor, I see this in adult students too. So when I go out of town and I have to get a sub, people don't show up. Or they show up late and they never would for me. Or they're disrespectful. They talk in class where they would never do that if I was the teacher. And that comes back on me too, because I've stepped into plenty of sub situations for other teachers and people don't show up or they misbehave for me, right? And I just want to talk a little bit about that pattern of not showing up when there's just a new teacher. Let's just take that, whether it's a classroom teacher or a substitute teacher in yoga. It's one of those things where, and I've been guilty of this too, we all have our routines, we all have our favorite teachers, and we all carve out time for a workout or a yoga class or whatever the activity is in our day. And it was a snow day here, so a lot of things were shut down. And I know it's a snow day out there in a lot of places still, and things are shut down. And when our kids are home and they don't have school, they're wigged out. I mean, I'm a mom. Anybody else who's a mom or dad out there can attest to when your kids' structure is altered, they wig out. They crave structure and stability. It doesn't mean they want inflexibility, but they thrive when they know what they're doing every day, who they're anticipating seeing. They know they're going to get home and go to an activity or do their homework or whatever. And when do our kids wig out the most? Like the 2 weeks before school's over, the 2 weeks before camp ends, anytime there's a transition coming, whether they know it or not, they start to wig out. I've seen it. Raise your hand if you've seen it. I know you have. But getting back to like the way we are as adults, not showing up when there's a sub fascinates me. Because what I know for sure is the people who take the same classes from the same teachers over and over again are feeling secure and they are learning and they are getting better at their craft. And maybe going to the same teacher is all they can do to get out of the house in the morning and show up because maybe they're shy. I don't know. What I do know is every time I take a class from someone else, I learn something. I hear a song I like. I'm going to ask to borrow so I can use it on a playlist down the road. I'm one of those teachers where like, I'm going to ask you for a song, but I'm not going to play it in the same week that you just played it. I just don't do that. Or I learn like a new cue I never thought of. Or I learn about myself and my own rigidity and my own inflexibility. Sometimes if you walk into a class and the sub hasn't been announced before, well, you feel like a shithead if you leave I've had people leave. I've had people look that I'm teaching and exit the building, right? It doesn't feel good. I've been around long enough to know that doesn't say anything about me, that says everything about them, but it still sucks. You want people to show up for your class. You want to expose, I want to expose students to the way I teach because just like I described, maybe they're going to walk away tapping their feet, or maybe they're going to walk away feeling a little better or more secure in a pose that I noticed they could use a little boost or alignment cues in. I'm going to give them extra attention. Maybe they don't get that in their other class. I don't know. But for whatever reason, and I've, like I said, been guilty too. I haven't walked away. Once I'm in the class, I'm in the class because that's just rude. But I notice maybe I don't love the music. Maybe the teacher's a little too boring for me. Maybe I'm really pissed off that I didn't look at the Mind Body app or that I knew that the sub was there. Maybe I'm angry that the studio owner didn't announce it. Anything like that. What I love about that is our mat is the best petri dish we have. Everything develops on our mat. So I love that. It's part of the practice, in my opinion, and in my experience. And so if you learn nothing else from this podcast today, maybe give yourself a chance to experience a new teacher or maybe a new time for when you exercise or take a class, because even just the shift in the time of day also teaches you a lot about yourself and your sense of stability and security and where you might need some work bolstering that or boosting that. But the overall question is when we show up and there's something unexpected, or like the cat in the hat shows up and the house goes chaotic, we're left asking, am I safe here? Can I trust this teacher? Can I trust this babysitter? Or the opposite applies, right? How quickly can I misbehave? Because what can I get away with? So those imbalances show up. So when expectations are clear and there is reliability, there's guardrails and we feel safe with guardrails. We do. But when the structure disappears, then we don't feel so safe. So when there's no structure, no predictable presence, you might create drama or seek stimulation because calm doesn't feel safe anymore. You might micromanage everything because loosening control feels like the house will literally fall apart. You may overwork or overschedule, overfunction to avoid any stillness because stillness brings up anxiety. Again, taking this to the example of a yoga class, Shavasana is one of the hardest poses to stay for and find comfort within if you're not used to being still. And I remind my students, I'll remind you, Shavasana is an asana. Shavasana. It is a pose like anything else and like any other pose. It takes practice. So if you're not a fan of Shavasana or you're not good at it, just know it takes practice. You're going to get there if it's a goal. When this instability shows up, that you're searching for something solid. And when you can't find it externally, you either try to control everything yourself, become rigid and controlling, or you spiral into chaos, flighty and all over the place, hoping that at least the chaos makes you feel normal or predictable, I guess, believe it or not, or it makes you feel less like you're numb. But here's what matters at the end of the cat in the hat. Everything gets cleaned up. The cat uses his magical machine to restore order in seconds. The moss-covered family credenza, right? The mother comes home and like nothing ever happened. The cat leaves, the children are safe, and I think they're probably just a little sad, but the fish is quite relieved. So, but the cat teaches us when structure disappears, chaos is the communication, and the solution isn't punishment. It's restoration of the physical structure, whether that's within yourself or outside of yourself. Okay, so moving on to the next story, the mother for Choco really displays the other side of root chakra imbalance. Choco the bird, the little yellow bird with a beak and striped feet. He's just looking for his mother. He goes searching and he comes across this giraffe and he says to the giraffe, "Are you my mother?" And the giraffe looks at him and says, "No, I have a long neck, and you don't. I couldn't be your mother." So he's rejected. And he goes to the penguin, and he says, "Are you my mother?" And the penguin says, "I have flippers, and you have wings. I'm not your mother." And then he sees this walrus and he says, "Are you my mother?" And the walrus is grumpy. I don't know why, but I made the walrus grumpy. And he says, "No, I have a mustache. You don't. I couldn't be your mother. Go away." So he's just rejected this little bird, and same devastating message. You don't match the expected shape. You don't look like I do. So therefore, you don't belong. I mean, right there. Let's just pause. When we don't look like each other, fear comes in. We want to look like each other. We want to hang around the people that look like we do, that believe like we do, that have the same religion that we do. You know what I'm talking about. And when we are faced with people who are others, some of us don't display the best behavior. And I'm going to leave it at that. But it's all about the root chakra. So when we fear how others look, how they sound, how they smell, what they eat, what they drive, what they wear, and they don't look like we do, and they don't behave in the way we think they should, or believe in the same God we think they should, then a lot of bad things seem to be happening about that. And it's really unfortunate because at the end of the day, what our root chakra teaches us is we all have blood. We all want stability. We all want safety. We all want structure. So getting off my political soapbox, but I had to throw that in because, like I said, today is a big day of transition astrologically, but it's a big day in our nation energetically. There's a lot of upset, chaos, and fear happening. You can feel it, you can see it, you can read about it. And no matter which side you stand on, you're probably operating from a place of fear in some way. And how we feel better and less fearful is to understand that at the very base of our existence, we have every right to be here in the skin we have, in the names we call ourselves, in the colors of our skin, and our beliefs. And all we ask in return is to not be killed for those beliefs. Full stop. And like our little friend Choco, all he wants is to belong somewhere. All he's looking for is home. And he identifies home, I mean, who wouldn't, as having a mother. And so his pain isn't loud like other people's pain seems to be loud. And he doesn't cause chaos because he's in fear. He just keeps searching. He gets quieter. You can see as you read the book, the illustrations are so beautiful. You guys, you need to get this book. He just gets smaller, and you can just tell he's just feeling so dejected and so lost. And his root chakra is so wounded. He just wants to fit in. He wants to belong. He wonders if he matters to anybody else. And I wish that I had this language I have now when I was reading this book or any other book to my kids, because I would have added at that point, I'm going to add now, he really just needs to matter to himself. But he's little, so he needs somebody to take care of him. So he meets Mrs. Bear. And Mrs. Bear, like I said, doesn't look like Choco because she's a bear and Choco's a bird. She's big and she's brown and she's soft and she's warm. She doesn't have wings, she doesn't have a beak, she doesn't have striped feet. And at first, Choco's afraid to even ask her anything because he's been let down previously. But when he asks Mrs. Bear, "Mrs. Bear, are you my mother?" Mrs. Bear doesn't look at his physical form. She doesn't look him up and down with disdain or dismissiveness. She doesn't have a checklist. She asks a different question. She says, "What do mothers do?" And Choco, through his tears, says, "A mother holds you. A mother kisses you. A mother sings to you. A mother plays with you." And Mrs. Bear says, "Then I can be your mother." I mean, legit, that's all it takes. I could be your mother. I'm going to hold you. I'm going to kiss you. I'm going to make you feel safe. That's what a mother does. That's what a father does. That's what a home does. That's what friends do. It's so easy to make someone else feel safe and secure, but you need to feel that way within yourself first. So, I'm getting a little teary-eyed just thinking about it. The version of root chakra imbalance in this book is all about the ways unconditionality shows up for us or doesn't. And of course, that shows up the most when we get to the heart chakra, but just the way someone says, you belong here, come right in, no questions asked, that's an unconditional display of root chakra balance, okay? So it doesn't require, Choco in this case, to have a long neck or wings or anything else, flippers, walrus teeth. He just needs to be himself. And so Mrs. Bear takes him home. And who does he meet? He meets her other children. They're all mismatched, like the Island of Misfit Toys from Rudolph. And everybody just wants to feel loved and seen and included. And Mrs. Bear puts out a plate for Choco, sits him right down at the table, and they all have chocolate cake together. And it's a very happy story at the end. And so safety in this story is not sameness, it's acceptance, which is huge. It's not sameness, it's acceptance. In this way, if you display an imbalance the Choco way, I'll call it, you might search constantly for proof that you matter through what you give or do for others. You apologize for having needs of your own or for taking up space. You stay in situations that don't serve you because leaving them feels a little too risky. It's like the devil you know, and although that wasn't Choco, that's just a display of an imbalance in this way. When you're sort of operating with an imbalance to the less than category, you try to match the shape of others, hoping that if you just behave like they do or look like they do or sound like they do, that they're going to accept you. And you define yourself entirely through what you have, your physical stuff or the role that you play, the job you have, and you kind of lose touch with who you are at a baseline, which is a divine human having a human experience, no matter what job you have or what home you live in or what car you drive. So although the Choco story doesn't create chaos like the Cat in the Hat story, it's the same desperate search for security and stability when it's not there. And so both of these stories reveal that home is not defined by perfection nor tradition. Both of these stories display the root chakra aspect of home is really where your nervous system can settle. You feel good. You feel calm. You feel secure. The root chakra doesn't judge how the home is formed. It only asks whether it provides stability, structure, and a sense of being held. For some of us, that's our family of origin. For some of us, that's our adopted family, our community, our school, anything that provides us stability, friend group, religious group, on and on and on. So the cat and Choco come from the same wound, an unstable foundation in those crucial early years from birth to 7 when the root chakra is forming. And why the root chakra matters to all the other chakras, because it's the foundation that provides a support for all the other layers, for all the other floors in our home that is our body. You can make your second floor beautiful, you can paint it, you can decorate it, all the way up to the penthouse. But pretty much if your foundation isn't stable, it's like slapping lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. It's still unstable. It's still just a false narrative that your house is secure when it really isn't. And like I said, eventually something's going to break. Something's going to lean a little strangely to the right or the left, or the floors will creak. Whatever it is, you understand something's off. So the same is true for your chakras. If we start with an unsteady base, then when you move up to the sacral chakra, it governs your creativity, your emotional areas, your passions, your sensuality and sexuality. If you're not grounded and secure at your roots, then you won't be able to express your emotions or your passions or your joys in a grounded way, in a balanced way. And the same moving all the way up the chain. And so the root really is the beginning. It's the root. No surprise, it's the root. So when we are feeling secure and stable, that is when we are able to leave our homes and explore the world around us at any age and feel like we belong no matter where we go, because we belong to ourselves. we feel good inside the body that we're embodying, that we're possessing, that we're renting. But if not, when you leave your house, everything else has to compensate. We rely on other things too much, other chakras too much, other people too much for our own sense of security. And so just to remind you, the mantra of the root chakra is I am, not I do, not I give, not I perform. I am. I exist. I belong. I'm enough. And when that truth is solid, when your body knows that at a cellular level, everything else becomes possible. I'm going to offer you a few ways to practice balancing your root chakra. And for deeper dives into this work or any other work, you can reach out to me and work with me on this. But for today, I'm going to give you some things because I love my listeners. So I just want to give you just a quick three practices here. I'm going to call one the morning anchor. And all that asks of you is before you reach for your phone, before you do anything else, sit on the edge of your bed, put your feet on the ground, and feel your feet on the floor. Maybe press them down a little bit. This came to me when I was thinking about this episode. Remember the movie Die Hard, Bruce Willis? There's a scene in it where he takes off his socks and his shoes and he kind of digs his toes into the carpet. And, way before I was doing this work, he was grounding himself. Like a movie like Die Hard has grounding in it. Go watch it. You'll see it. You'll be like, oh, that's what she was talking about. So that's what I'm asking you to do. Press your feet into the floor. Maybe even give your toes a good squeeze just to remind you that you are home. You can place one hand on your belly or both hands on your heart or just in your lap, close your eyes. Visualize where your root chakra lives at the base of your spine. You might visualize the color red, whether from the base of your spine all the way down, your legs, under your feet, under the floor, growing red roots right down to the core of the earth, or maybe all over your body. However you want to do it, you just do it. I give you permission. I'm empowering you to do your own root practice in the morning. Just an easy one. Take some slow, deep breaths. Maybe if your hands are on your body, you can breathe into your hands, feel your breath expanding, feel it contracting, and just feel that connection to yourself and feel that connection to the earth, to the floor. And say it out loud. Actually say it out loud. I am here. I am safe. I belong. So even if saying it out loud makes you cringe and feel ridiculous, that's okay. That just means you've got some work to do in believing that you're safe, that you belong, and that you matter. Right? If you can't say it out loud yourself, you have a little work to do in this area. Then when you repeat this and you do it consistently, you're really retraining your brain and your body and your nervous system to believe it and own it. And then ask yourself when you're done with all that, just one question. What does my foundation need today? And get quiet and wait for the answer. It might take a few minutes. It might come later in the day or whatever it is, hopefully not too soon after. The more you do this, it'll come pretty much right away. Maybe it's one boundary you need to set for the day. Maybe it's asking your partner to handle something so you can focus on something else or get some rest. Perhaps it's finally getting some exercise you've been promising yourself, or to actually make the phone calls to the repair person who's going to fix that thing that's been broken in your house for a while. So it's dedication to your foundation, dedication to yourself and your environment. Again, what does my foundation need today? And whatever it is, honor it, write it down. It doesn't have to be big, it can be small, just whatever it is, do it. And this works again because you're teaching and retraining your nervous system every single day before you become anyone to anyone. You're still in bed, you haven't looked at your phone, that you check in with yourself first. That teaches you that you matter first. Oxygen on yourself first. And so this repetition creates safety, it creates security, and it creates a habit, it creates a pattern of mattering and giving your foundation what it needs. Okay, so the second practice you can do is, again, feet on the floor. And you can do this, I call this like an emergency practice. So like anytime you're feeling like you're getting ungrounded, you're wigging out, you're getting untethered, and you're feeling insecure, just stop whatever you're doing if you can. Not if you're driving. Stop whatever you're doing if you can. Both feet on the floor. Feet on the floor. If you're wearing shoes and you can take them off, take them off. You can get outside, even better. Go stand in the earth, the grass, the sand, even concrete, doesn't matter. And just feel the ground underneath you. It's that Die Hard image again. I can't unsee it. So press your feet down. You can do box breathing. I offered this on Monday, I think. Inhale for a count of 4, 5, or 6. Hold at the top for the same count. Exhale for the same count. And hold yourself empty for the same count. Do that 3 or 4 times in one direction and do it in the other direction. You are literally creating a box, a solid base, and your nervous system is resetting while you do it because you're deeply breathing, which scientifically, as we know, honors the vagus nerve, and it puts us out of fight and flight and makes us feel safe and secure. And then you can say out loud, I highly encourage you to say this out loud or silently if you're in public. The ground is holding me. I don't have to hold everything myself. Again, the ground is holding me. I don't have to hold everything myself. And just feel the truth of that. Let that sink in. And if it's not sinking in, it eventually will. Because you're doing the work. You're already doing the work of rebalancing this chakra, I promise you. So this works because when you're feeling chaotic, when structure disappears, even the example I gave, you're ready to go to your yoga class and you walk in and what do you see? A substitute teacher. Maybe don't leave. Maybe just get on your mat, go into child's pose, which is also a really secure and grounding pose, and do that box breathing. And just say, I have every right to be here. So does the sub. I'm safe here. I trust. I have a reason to be here. Sometimes the universe really does give us what we need, whether we want it to or not. So maybe that day you really, really needed the sub and you didn't know it when you walked in. And then the final practice I'll give you is an evening tally. So, we've done the morning, maybe we've had to do an emergency grounding. And so at the end of the day, before you go to bed, before you scroll or watch TV or whatever it is you do before you go to bed, this would take probably 2 minutes. You name 3 things that were consistent in the day. 3 things. Nothing exciting, doesn't have to be amazing, it doesn't have to be Instagram worthy, you don't have to share it with anyone, just share it to yourself. Examples could be what you know for sure. The sun rose and the sun set. I woke up today. I'm going to bed now. I breathed today. I texted my sister, my brother, my child today. Something you actually did. I showed up for work. I ate my favorite donut. Whatever it is, or the floor held me today. Something that you can name that is consistent from your day. A sure thing. It doesn't have to be achievements. I don't want them to necessarily be achievements because those are variable, right? We don't always have wins. We don't always have losses. What do we know for sure? Like the sun is rising, the sun is setting, stuff like that. Just remind yourself of those things, consistent things. And again, this is all about resetting your nervous system. It works. It really, really does. And over time, because it takes time, it's practice and it's just built layer by layer. So we need to start with our root chakra first. And the daily repetition helps with that, creates new habits, creates new patterns, and we become secure within the new habits and the new patterns through repetition. So I think I'm going to leave you with this. If you'd like to reach out for some guided meditations, I'm happy to show you how to find them or create them for you. And you can always go to my website, customdesignedwellness.com, and sign up for a free chat. You can email me, Lauri, Lauri, at customdesignedwellness.com. And we can have a chat on email first. That's fine with me. But today I hope that you learned a lot more about your root chakra. I hope maybe you reconnected and reappreciated the stories we learned as children that maybe have a new layer of meaning now, like the Cat in the Hat, or this book that maybe you've never heard of, A Mother for Choco. But eventually, I hope that you become your own Mrs. Bear, that version of yourself that shows up for yourself no matter what, and allows others to show up as themselves no matter what. Because when we are secure within ourselves, we send that vibe out to everyone and everything else, that we are someone else's home base. We are someone else's calm in the storm. And we can all use that today and every day. I really thank you for sticking with me. I will get to the sacral chakra next. I really appreciate you allowing me to come on here and be a teacher because, like I said, That is one of my greatest joys, and teaching people about the chakra system and their internal instructions is also one of my greatest joys. I do offer workshops with the theme. We do come with instructions, and I want to work for you. I want you to hire me for your company, for your professional organization, for your community organization, or for your group of friends. Because if you are engaged with this work and you see the value in it, don't you want to share it with others? Because I know I do. So I'm going to leave that with you guys. And again, I thank you for listening, and I hope you have a solid and secure day.